Hi, my name is Melissa Fletcher, and this is my picture book presentation. I'm doing my presentation on a story called Amelia Bedelia from the 20th century children's book treasury that we were supposed to get for this class. I hope you guys enjoy. So the first slide, I'm going to just give you some textual background. It was written by Peggy Parrish and illustrated by Fritz Siebel. Kind of a hard name to say, forgive me. It was originally published in 1963, and the series continued after the death of Peggy in 1988 through her nephew. And he's continued the series. I don't know if you guys remember reading those, but I loved the Amelia Bedelia books when I was learning to read. And this, as you can see, is the original cover of the first story that was written by Peggy Parrish. So here's like a plot summary. I'm just going to show you some pictures and I'm going to give you the plot summary. Amelia Bedelia was a maid that was hired by the Rogers family, and here she is entering the house with a list of things that she's supposed to do for Mrs. Rogers before they leave. One of the first things on the list is to change the towels in the blue bathroom, and as you can see in this picture, she takes it quite literally and cannot understand the figure of speech being used, and instead of replacing fresh towels, she begins cutting them up because that is what it means to her to change. Another example of her misinterpreting is she was supposed to turn out the lights when she was done cleaning the living room, so she takes those light bulbs out and puts them outside to dry out. Her words in the story are to dry out like a baby. So it's very interesting, her take on what the Rogers family wants her to do. So this continues until they come home. She makes several mistakes, such as she was supposed to close the drapes when the sun came in, but the list said draw the drapes. So when the sun came in that living room, she actually drew a literal picture of the drapes instead of closing them like the Rogers family meant for her to do. So they come home, the Rogers, and they see everything that she's done wrong, including actually clothing a chicken and putting it in a box. And they get kind of angry and upset that she doesn't do things correctly or as the way they envisioned her doing them. But her lemon menage pie saves the day for her, basically, and allows her to keep her job because they like the pie so much. And the story tells how they start to learn to write things more literally for Amelia so she does not continue to mess them up. But if you read further into the series, you know that she continues to mess things up despite this. So my analysis is that this book really, and many of these books, draws attention to the fact that instructions can be misunderstood, and this is a factor that's very common in younger children. They take things literally, they do not understand figures of speech, and it's part of that humor thing that hasn't necessarily developed in their cognitive skills yet. So some themes I could pull from this were like doing your best despite the situation and literalism. So yeah. The style, as you can see, it's a cartoon art. I would say that they used watercolors, very soft lines, but they're soft and delicate pictures, as I quote from Russell Text, and they emphasize a lot of motion, and as in this picture you can see the smell coming off the pie as Amelia takes it from the kitchen. Some formal elements I'd like to go over are lines. They're used to create depth in illustrations, and you can see in this bathroom picture the lines going back and getting tighter as it can show that the bathroom is deep and goes full in, and then there's these vertical lines that show height. And there's the idea of shapes. A lot of this book has more rounded shapes in the illustrations, as you can see, not necessarily in this one as much because there are the lines, but this one definitely has more rounded shapes. Even the lines down here are crooked and there's like little diamonds in the bottom, so that's said to create a sense of security and comfort in children, according to the Russell Text. Lastly, the space. There's a lot of empty space surrounding these illustrations, particularly this one, as I said before. You know, there's just the floor and the Amelia's figure. There's nothing, there's just white behind it, and all the illustrations aren't completely finished. They're not boxed off. They have a lot of blank space surrounding them, as you'll see in other pictures and have seen in the ones I've already shown you. And this really draws attention to the focal point, which is Amelia and what act she is doing, and typically how she is doing that incorrectly. So some more formal elements, rhythm, movement, and direct attention. So the pictures are placed in all different places within the books, sometimes before the text, sometimes after, sometimes parallel. It just depends on the version you have. And this follows the story with the text. And also, in this book, the pictures add the additional meaning that you can't really necessarily divulge purely through the text. They'll say, they'll put literally what she did, but a child would not understand that she was doing it incorrectly, such as cutting up the towels, unless they saw that she was doing that in the picture, because it doesn't necessarily say that she is cutting the towels. She is changing them, which is what she is doing technically, but is not what she is supposed to be doing. And that shows some direct attention. A lot of the images, actually all of the images, use primarily reds, yellows, and blue colors throughout the text. And the red and yellow suggest excitement and happiness, and those are all in pictures such as this one, where Amelia is literally putting dust back on the furniture instead of dusting it or dusting off the furniture. And it shows that she's being active, she's doing stuff. Some other ones that you saw were like the bathroom, the blue bathroom, they suggest calmness, which correlates to her sitting calmly and just cutting up these towels. And then this is my works cited. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I suggest you read Amelia Bedelia because it's a really fun story. Thank you.